Shabbat Shalom family. Today is 7/20th, 2019, and of course it's a Shabbat. In this video, I will go through some of the situation where folks claim that the Sabbath is not relevant. There are a lot of things that folks say, like you can keep the Sabbath in the land, and some folks believe in the lunar Sabbath, and some folks are saying in relation to the weekly Sabbath that most of us keep, they're saying that Rome is the one through their calendar that gave us this Sabbath, this weekly Sabbath. And that's why they gravitate towards a lunar Sabbath. But, I was thinking just recently, like within the past couple of days to a week, while I was at work, and the thought that came to my mind is that if Rome gave us the Sabbath through their calendar, why would they turn around and actually claim that Saturday is a true Sabbath and that there's no scriptural evidence for Sunday being the Sabbath? And that's why we're at this website. It's called BibleSabbath.org. Okay? And it's clear, the topic is clear: Roman Catholic and Protestant confessions about Sunday. So let's take a look at some of these confessions. If you read through the introduction to the document, it's talking about the early Christians observe the early Christians observe the seventh-day Sabbath. But we know that there was no such thing as a Christianity during the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and many of the patriarchs, the house of Israel. There was no such thing as Christianity. That came way after. Because we know that the promise was given to the house of Israel. It's all over Scripture. Okay? For example, I'm going to go back to the document. Amos 3, verse 1 to 2. Let me go here. Like I said, I'll get back to the document. I'm not going to be long with this. Bear with me. Like I said, bear with me for a moment. Okay, right here. It says Amos 3, verse 1 to 2. It says, "Hear this word that Yahuah has spoken against you, O children of Ysrael, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities." See? Yah say you only know the children of Israel, of all the families of the earth. That's clear cut. Let's get back to the document without further ado. Okay, so it talk about Christianity, being Christians. Okay, never was. That's just made up. That's just for another time. So look at some of these confessions. This is broken into Roman Catholic confessions and Protestants confessions. Let's go down to the Protestants confession. See, and the different bodies that makes up the Protestant movement. All right. But let's deal with. I'm not going to read everything. I'll post a link so you can go there and read it for yourself. You can print the page and save it to a PDF version. Whatever you want to do, you can get access to this document. Okay. So let's read like at least four of these. Okay. It says James Cardinal Givens in this book, The Faith of Our Fathers, 80th edition, page 89. Now, a cardinal is one of the highest office, is the highest office next to the Pope. So these are hierarchies. Many of these confessions are coming from hierarchies within the Catholic and Protestant movement. So James Cardinal is saying, "But you may read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and you will not find a single line authorizing the sanctification of Sunday. It was never a set apart day." That's basically what he's saying. The scriptures enforce the religious observance of Saturday, a day which we never sanctify. See? Stephen Keenan, A Doctrinal Catechism, 3rd edition, page 174. So he was asked a question: Have you any other way of proving that the so-called church has the power to institute festivals of precept? Answer: Had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change of which there is no scriptural authority. See? So John Lou, I don't know if I pronounce this name correctly, A Course in Religion of Catholic High Schools and Academies, 1936, Volume 1, page 51. He quotes, not he quotes, but this is what they're quoting what he said. Some theologians have held that Al, we don't use God, it's Al means power, a mighty one, power, strength, mighty one, okay? Al likewise directly determined the Sunday as the day of worship in the new law, that he himself has explicitly substituted the Sunday for the Sabbath. This is why he said some theologians have held this view, right? But this theory is not based on fact. It's not based on the Torah, the laws of the Most High. It's a theory. It's now entirely abandoned. It is now commonly held that Al simply gave his so-called church the power to set aside whatever day or days she would deem suitable as set-apart days. The church chose Sunday, the first day of the week, and in the course of time added other days as set-apart days. Let's read the last one. It's a Daniel Ferris, Manual of Christian Doctrine, 1916, page 67. Question: How prove you that the church have power to command feasts and set apart days? Answer: By the very act of changing the Sabbath into Sunday, which Protestants allow of, and therefore they found they contradict themselves by keeping Sunday strictly and breaking most other feasts commanded by the same church, quote unquote church, okay? And then we had further quote from, James Cardinal Gibbons, and, I scrolled down the document and showed that there are tons of confessions showing that there is no scriptural authority for Sunday being the Sabbath, okay? Again, I just want to reiterate, if Rome was the one who gave us the Sabbath through their calendar, through their teachings, wherever, those who claim that the Sabbath is the weekly Sabbath is not relevant, but it should be the lunar Sabbath, or whether or not the Sabbath can be kept in the land. That's what they're saying. Should be kept in the land. I'm sorry. That's what they're saying. But Yah says that the Sabbath is for the house of Israel. Exodus 31, verses 16 through 17. Right? I know in Genesis it says that 6th day the Most High labored, and the 7th day he rested. Right? And again, Exodus 31, verse 16 through 17 said the Sabbath is a sign between him and his people Israel. Okay? But let's look further at what the book of Jubilee says, okay? In the book of Jubilee, chapter 2, the book of Jubilee was given to Moses. All this information was given to Moses in a book on Mount Sinai when he got the commandments, what we commonly know as the 10 Commandments from the Most High and Mount Sinai, the Most High Yah. We know that Moses got a bunch of other information pertaining to the law from the Most High, but most people are familiar with the 10 Commandments. Now, the book of Jubilees, which is debatable in many circles. You can look it up yourself. But we have read it, all 50 chapters, and we have found, from our perspective, we have seen where it fills in a lot of gap, a lot of missing pieces. And this is just one of the many areas. If you read chapter 2, verses think it's 29 to 33. This is what it says. It said, declare and say to the children of Israel the law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do any work therein which is unseemly, to do thereon their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, and that it is not lawful to draw water or bring in or take out thereon through their gates any burden which they have not prepared for themselves on the sixth day in their dwellings. And they shall not bring in or take out from house to house on that day. See, most are saying, like how we're used to, taking food from our houses and go over to the congregations, different congregations, or our congregation where we assemble, or go to our brethren houses. The most I say you don't bear any burden, and taking food even to the congregation is bearing burden. Now, that makes sense, okay? And of course, already we're seeing that it lines up with what the Torah says about the Sabbath. Verse 30 says, and they shall not bring in or take out from house to house on that day. For that day is more set apart and Baruch than any Jubilee day of the Jubilees. And this we kept the Sabbath in the heavens before it was made known to any flesh to keep Sabbath there on the earth. And the Creator of all things Baruch it, but he did not sanctify or set apart all peoples and nations to keep Sabbath thereon, but Ysrael alone. Them alone he permitted to eat and drink and to keep Sabbath thereon on the earth. And it goes on to say, the Creator of all things Baruch this day which he had created for Baruch, and set apartness and esteem above all days. This law and testimony was given to the children of Israel as a law forever unto their generations. So, Scripture is telling us that the Sabbath was only made for the house of Israel. Now you got to make a decision. Are you of the house of Israel, or are you not? So when we see the nations not celebrating the Sabbath, it's no big deal. We just relax because it's not for them. Okay? But, there are controversies, why people say you can't do the Sabbath in the land because you have the temple, okay? You have the sacrifices, all that stuff. But that could be a study for another day, right? As far as how we should keep the Sabbath. Because we don't need the sacrifice. We don't need the temple in the diaspora. And, speaking of that, what comes to mind is that, because we cannot see any direct, when we go to scripture, we cannot see any direct, what's the word for it? We are not seeing directly where any of the brethren actually kept the Sabbath in the diaspora, in the captivity. It's not spelled out. It's not spelled out, okay? We're seeing that they kept the laws. For example, there are many years, but in the book of Esther 3:8, let's take a look at tongue tied. Let's take a look at Esther 3:8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there were certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and the laws are diverse from all people. Now to keep the king's law. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them or allow them. So he was speaking to Ahasuerus, who was a Persian king, because this was after Babylon was taken out by the Persians and the Medes. Okay? So and Haman was plotting, as we know in the book of Esther, he was plotting for the total annihilation of the Yahudis. Okay? The house of Judah, who were scattered in that region. Now, so we're seeing, this is what I'm talking about. For example, they're saying that, okay, they kept the laws, right? Our people were keeping the laws. And you can bet they keep all the feasts and all the Sabbaths. Okay, because within the feast days there are certain days that are treated like a Sabbath, which does not fall on a weekly Sabbath. Weekly Sabbath. Okay, it could be a Wednesday. You have to read about the feast days in the book of like Leviticus 23 and other areas of scripture, Exodus 12, and so forth. Now, I believe that the Most High, through his wisdom and through his imparting of knowledge to the remnant in the earth, what he has done, even though the enemy has taken our manuscripts and burned and destroyed, there still remain glimpses, still remain that little light for so we can find our way, okay? And pertaining to this particular subject, we can see this light through the events of the book of Toby. Now, what is the book of Toby? Okay, I researched and Wikipedia came up with some pretty interesting information. I'm not going to read everything, so let's read this area. If you search in Google what is the book of Tobit, you can go to Wikipedia and other areas and read it. But when I jump down to this article in Wikipedia, it says canonical status. It says in Christianity, they keep on talking about Christian, but we're not Christian, okay? We were never Christian. It said the book of Tobit is listed as a canonical book by the Council of Rome. So Rome is saying that we accept this book. That's basically what it's saying. Just like how they gave us the 66 books, that's the canons too, meaning that it was authorized by the Roman Catholic Church under the authority of the Pope. So Rome is saying here, this book is accepted. They did not accept the book of Jubilees, right? It's called a pseudepigrapha. I never like to pronounce that word. But this one, unless I'm not going to read everything, you can read it yourself. Okay, say. And so here it says, and it is a part of the canon of both the Roman Catholic Church and Eastern Orthodox churches. Roman Catholics often refer to it as deuterocanonical. Deuterocanonical is another hard word, okay? But they say it's accepted. That's what they're saying, okay? It should be included in the canon. It's a part of their canon. But what's interesting, we're not finding the King James, right? So therefore, Rome is saying that this have authority, and the book of Tobit, okay, shows us that Tobit, his son, and his wife, they kept Pentecost in the Assyrian captivity. Okay, I'm not going to read everything. You can make a Google search again, Book of Tobit PDF. That's Book of Tobit PDF, and you should find it. If you can't find it, I'll find a way to get this article to you. Okay. And just leave your comments and let me know. Okay. I don't have to remove it. I'm gonna search for it a while, but I'm looking at this information that I downloaded some time ago, and it's on my computer. Okay. So in a nutshell, what happened? The northern kingdom went into captivity, and Tobit is from the tribe of Naphtali. So they went over, but Tobit, when they went over, Tobit kept himself set apart. Okay, he was set apart throughout the whole thing. He said, many of his brethren just accepted the ways of the Gentiles. What happened in a nutshell that is that Tobit would bury the bodies of the brethren that were slain by the king at that time, Sennacherib. And then, whenever the king sought the bodies to find out where's the body that I just thrown in the street, I'm just paraphrasing. One of the men of Nineveh, which is the capital of Babylon, Assyria, went and told the king that Tobit is the one responsible for, burying these dead bodies. So Tobit feared for his life and fled Nineveh. Now, less than 50 days after he fled, the king's sons, Sennacherib, two of his sons, they killed him or murdered him, okay? And after he was murdered, another son came into power. With I think his name is here. It's right here in chapter 122. Well, before that, let's look at chapter 121. It says, "But not after 50 days passed before two of Sennacherib's sons killed him, and they fled to the mountains of Ararat. Then Esar-Haddon, his son, this is another son, reigned in his place. And he appointed Ahikar, the son of my brother, Naal, over all the accounts of his kingdom and over the entire administration." And it says here in 122, "Ahikar interceded for me, and I returned to Nineveh." Remember, I told you he fled from Nineveh because of he feared for his life when the wicked king Sennacherib ruled. Now, Ahikar was cupbearer. He never became cupbearer, or what they call butler today, okay? And also the keeper of the signet. That was an important position. And in charge of administration of the accounts. For Esar-Haddon had appointed him second to himself. He was my nephew. So just like in Egypt when Joseph was appointed second in command to Pharaoh, this is a similar thing. It was all Yah's doing. Yah was in the midst of everything. So this is where we're going to see where he, his wife, and his son kept the feast. He said, "When I arrived home, and my wife Anna and my son Tobias were restored to me at the feast of Pentecost." See, there was no temple. Let's continue reading. It says, "Which is the set apart festival of the 7 weeks. A good dinner was prepared for me, and I sat down to eat. Upon seeing the abundance of food, I said to my son, Go and bring whatever poor manner for brethren you may find who is mindful of Yahuah." In other words, whose heart is set on the Torah of Yah, who's walking in the ways. "And I will wait for you." Because remember, Toby said earlier that when he went into captivity, right? This is what he said in chapter 110. He said, "Now when I was carried away captive to Nineveh, all my brethren and my relatives ate the foods of the Gentiles, but I kept myself from eating it." Why? "Because I remembered Al with all my heart." Al means power, our strength. So Toby, like many of the brethren that were flung into the captivity, kept the commandments. Daniel's, the 3 Hebrew boys, and many others, they kept the commandments, right? They were set apart unto Yah, no matter what. And this is what Toby, because Toby understood covenant, right? He kept Pentecost. And you can bet that he kept what? He also kept unleavened bread, and he also kept tabernacles, the 3 feasts, 3 major feasts, appointed feasts. And you can bet he kept the Sabbath, which is also a feast. It is the Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, is not what we call, it is a feast, right? A time where you eat and drink before Yah and celebrate, okay? It is a feast. Leviticus 23 says it's a feast. But remember, there are 3 feasts, appointed times. They are appointed time, but there are 3 feasts are appointed time, what they call Moedims, when the Most High says that all males should appear before him, and they should not appear before him empty. These 3 feasts are unleavened bread, Pentecost, which we see our brother keeping right there without the priesthood, without the temple, without the sacrifices. And the last feast is the Feast of Tabernacles. So, folks will say all kind of things, right? But, you know what I'm saying? The sign of Yah is not on them because they're not keeping the Sabbath. They don't have that sign, okay? But they're going to listen to all kind of different, teachers without even studying for themselves and ask a rock of you to guide them to truth like this. Simple but powerful truth like this. And I encourage everyone to read the book of Toby. Very inspiring, very powerful. And just don't let anyone try to take you away from the things of Yah and take you away from his covenant. And with that, I say Shabbat Shalom again. And I encourage everyone to share, like, and subscribe. Shalom, shalom.